I was one of the shush for it.
Good morning, good morning. I just want to thank each and every one of you for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us this morning. We have some fantastic news to share with you. As most of you know, over the last 5.5 years, I've served as your president and CEO of the Greater Green Bay Chamber. And really during that time, we strived to take purposeful and methodical steps to truly enhance the economic prosperity of Greater Green Bay. To that end, the Chamber's really evolved our mission and our vision, and we encompass both economic and workforce development. The Chamber also took a leadership position and changed the name of the Chamber to include Greater, to be inclusive and represent the entire region. The Chamber's also played a very critical role in establishing a Chief Brown County, and we fostered the development of LIV 5421A. We've also partnered with the Greater Green Bay Community Foundation and Brown County United Way to provide data and measurements back to the community through our life study. And today, yet another very visible example of our commitment to prosperity with our unveiling of the Economic Development Strategy for Greater Green Bay. When I became president of the Chamber, I knew that our activities, responsibilities, and involvement truly needed to be enhanced. We need to be impactful and outcome-oriented. We owe that to all of you as our members and our stakeholders. Every day, the work we do behind the scenes addresses our biggest challenges, such as availability of talent, skill development, education, homelessness, changing or improving laws and regulations, and economic development. We are a strong chamber, and we're a very strong community partner. We certainly are not shy from tackling difficult challenges that face our area, and we are committed and determined to continue to create synergy and partnerships that positively impact Greater Green Bay. Today you'll hear the strategic plan is no different. Our plan is one of economic growth and prosperity that goes far beyond the traditional measurements and practices of economic development. Our success, as you'll hear today, will be measured by several metrics that we developed through the process. It really provides a more depth and reflection of true growth, gauging everything from retaining talent to further encouraging innovation and entrepreneurship, just as a couple of examples. Under my leadership, many times you've heard me say, all ships rise together, and this is just really another example. We're talking about really putting effort back into the community that will benefit the greater good and shine on all others in the region. And today truly is no exception. Today will mark the day where as a community we move forward together, collaboratively and strategically. The past 12 months has been an amazing journey. I see so many familiar faces that gave up time and talent to contribute to the plan. I'm very, very grateful. I also feel very blessed for the support that I've had from the board, and especially the chairman of the board. And he's here with us today, and I ask you to join me in a warm welcome for Mr. Mark Higgins.
Well, thank you, Lori, for your leadership in the community and that introduction. And I echo Lori's thanks to all of you for attending today. This truly is a monumental moment. And when you think about the future of the Greater Green Bay area, and you have time in your busy schedules to close your eyes and lie down by the babbling brook and think about the future, it's hard to not think about all the great strengths that we have in our community, but to think about how we can make it better, how we can create a more thriving and sustainable community for generations to come. Those aspirational thoughts are what have been driving us throughout the process, and our planning process has been guided by experts, and some that have had both national and international experience through the TIP Strategies company, and the hiring of Peter, who truly brings a lot of experience to the table for us. We were able to engage multi-generational participants across all sectors, both public and private, to provide ideas and energy to this plan. The plan is not, by any definition, the Chamber's economic plan. This is a plan that has ownership, deeply rooted in the community, and really the full engagement by the community is what's going to make it successful. The process went through numerous roundtables, focus groups, one-on-one employer interviews, and other key stakeholder meetings. There was a resounding message that came through loud and clear throughout the process. We have a community that really cares, wants to be heard, and inspires us to place community ahead of self. It's amazing what you can accomplish when no one cares who gets the credit. That resonated throughout the meetings. The growing energy and excitement as we progressed through the past 12 months was driven by the character and spirit of the participants. Many of you participated in the idea-generating sessions and provided the bedrock for priorities and catalyst opportunities. The plan has 11 initiatives that were developed and vetted by a newly formed strategic planning executive committee, as well as leveraging local, regional, and national economic data and economic assessment and SWOT analysis. These initiatives run the gamut from building from our region's manufacturing strengths to aligning more strongly and closely with the Green Bay Packers, accelerating downtown and urban development, and as Lori mentioned, attracting and retaining and developing the talent that we need for the future, especially as we face the exodus of the baby boomers from the workforce. Together, the 11 initiatives provide the synergy and balance for our long-term economic vitality and sustainability. Certainly, the quality of life is at the heart and soul of everything that we're doing. And let me remind you, though, that this is definitely going to be a marathon, not a sprint. And to paraphrase a famous quote, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And that is at the heart and soul of the collaboration and selflessness that's built into this plan. Ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to introduce the two people who devoted more time than anybody to the plan. John Karras from TIP Strategies and our Vice President of Economic Development, Peter Zaringer.
Thank you, Mark, and good morning to everybody. I appreciate everybody being here, not just for the breakfast, but also to talk about economic development. There's nothing more exciting than to talk about data at 7:30 in the morning, so we'll try to keep you guys awake. I do have to say a couple of thank yous. Mark said this is a team effort, and I had to write those down. I'm at the age where I have to write things down. So I want to thank the Greater Green Bay Chamber Board and the Advanced Board. In particular, both current and immediate past chairs, Mark Higgins and Todd Cullen, as well as Paul Pedelschner and Craig Agerholt. I want to thank Dr. Rye. He said he was going to be here. If he's not, please tell him that I said I want to ask, well, Lori had something to do with that, so I also want to thank Lori. She's been my partner in crime these long. I want to thank the members of our Strategic Planning Executive Committee. We had, regularly between 22 and 25 people that devoted a lot of their time. And the speakers that you see here, I think what's different in this process is that the speakers that you see here are not speakers that take credit for somebody else's work. They were actively involved in this process, every time, all the time. So these were not just the brains and the visionaries, they were the doers. And I couldn't be more thankful to all of you for really being active in this process. We couldn't have done it without you. I also want to thank my advanced staff, or as I call them, the A-team. If you could stand up, and I hope they didn't leave, they better not have. Where are you? Elizabeth, Josh, Cindy, come on, stand up. Hey, Cindy. So thank you for putting up with me in the last year and a half as we were focusing on this economic development strategy. I know you're looking forward to doing a lot more work. There's a few more that I would like to point out. These organizations, in the very beginning when we started talking about this, probably about a year and a half, obviously doing an economic development strategy costs money. And these organizations from the very beginning saw the benefits and had the vision to contribute to make this happen. So I want to say thank you to Mark Murphy and Policy, Darren Popke. I want to say thank you to Bob Atwell. I don't know if he's here. Bob, are you here? Guten Morgen und vielen Dank für die Unterstützung. In case anybody didn't know, Bob is fluent in German, so I appreciate it, Bob. I want to thank Christine Luce with Lodge Kohler, of course Tom Kunkel with St. Norbert, as well as David Pamgren and Dennis Bueller from the Community Foundation, and of course Mike Haddad, I'm sorry, for your help. So thank you again. If you could give a round of applause for all these sponsors. So I'm not going to introduce myself much more. I do want to hand it over to John just to give a quick background of his past economic development experience. And then I'm going to ask him to also give a shout out to John Roberts, who unfortunately couldn't make it. He was a big part of this planning team. He was the one that didn't stop talking to any of those that attended our roundtables, but he has a wealth of knowledge. That is the reason why he doesn't stop talking. So, John, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Does this one work? Okay, great. Thank you, Peter. So our firm, TIP Strategies, we are an economic development strategic planning firm based in Austin, Texas, and this is actually the 8th time that we have been to the Green Bay community as part of this project. We first came in November of 2015. Can't believe it's been that long. And yes, Peter mentioned John Roberts, my partner in crime and principal. The reason he's not here is he's preparing for a trip to visit family and friends in Germany, Peter's homeland as well. And it made me think, I've got some heritage in Greece. I wonder if the Germans have a history of providing financial support to the Greeks. Maybe you can finance my summer trip next year. Just kidding. I guess it was on my mind with the recent French election. But in all seriousness, it has been an absolute pleasure working with this community, and I've done a lot of strategic planning projects for cities and counties and regions over the years, 20 different states across the United States, and this is probably the most engaged I've seen the leadership, public sector and private sector, academic leadership in a community, and just the fact that you've got these folks standing up here showing their support for this plan, and everybody in this room speaks volumes to the potential of this community, and I think of what Peter and Lori have been working on with the Chamber. So the other thing I wanted to mention, TIP stands for something. It stands for Theory into Practice, which we take a practitioner's approach to actually, we put ourselves in Peter's shoes, we've been in those shoes, working with communities and businesses on the ground to be very tactical and action-oriented. This is not a study, it is an action plan, a strategic plan. The other thing that TIP stands for is talent, innovation, and place. Those are, I would say, our biases, what we view as critical for economic success, being able to attract talent, having innovative companies, and having a quality of place that makes all of that work. So or the next one, I guess, is this back to you, Peter?
This is back to me.
All right.
Thank you, John. I want to say for people that are standing in the back, I know Tom, there are seats here up front. If anybody wants to take a seat. You good there, Tom? I'm only going to ask you 2 more times. Okay. Well, since Tom didn't want to come up here, I decided to plug our airport. Tom Miller is our airport director, so there's a reason I use this slide, and it's really been a journey over the last 12 or more months. It's been a journey with over 300 people in the community, and I also, of course, wanted to showcase the new tagline for our airport, that our airport is the official gateway to Lambeau Field. And I'm sure everybody's happy here that I'm using a Delta airplane, not a United airplane. Just flying United is just a drag these days. Too early? No. I'm going to hand it over to John.
So this is the process that we applied to this project. We had a discovery phase, which was really learning everything that we could about the assets and challenges from a data perspective, as well as meeting with people, with all of you and others, leading to the opportunity phase where we're looking at what are the strategies, what are the opportunities, how can we build consensus for the commitments that would be made in this plan, and the implementation is where we are just finished up right now, and that's the most important because that's when you start talking about priorities, timeframes, and resources. And there's really three categories of information that inform the initiatives, the 11 initiatives. And you hired us to be critical, to be objective, and we've done that. So we've definitely paid close attention to what we've learned from what you told us and what we learned on the ground. But we've also spent a lot of time looking at the data and how does this region compare to not just the state and national economy, but we've picked a handful of competitor communities as well as some aspirational communities that have had successful economies, whether it's Grand Rapids or Asheville, North Carolina, some other regions that we're familiar with. And we wanted to look at the things that over the past several years where this region is maybe not growing as fast in terms of labor force, employment growth, the educational attainment level. So we wanted to look at some of that hard data to see where you can have improvements. And then also bringing the best practices, the projects and initiatives that have worked well in other communities that you can learn from, in addition to doing some new things creatively here as well.
Thank you, John. I just wanted to show some of you what that means in numbers and how these three phases contributed to our complete document, which is made off of 4 parts. A strategic plan followed by I think close to 60-page economic assessment and SWOT analysis, followed by the target industries, and last but not least a 15-page implementation matrix, which is basically a work plan that lines out milestones that we have to hit for each of the initiatives. So this thing is ready to be executed. So I just wanted to show you some of the numbers and participation we received. And last but not least, the final presentation today. So I want to talk a second about these initiatives, and John already touched on that. We wanted to make sure that this is a Greater Green Bay strategy and not somebody else's strategy, which was one reason for the participation of so many people. We collected, in addition to what John said, the local, regional, national data, and then applied our economic development experiences, best practices, traditional economic development practices, and non-traditional economic development practices. But we applied those to the themes that we've heard from the community over and over again. So what you see is a result of that. So these are not just ideas we came up with because we believe they all fit together, which they do, and I hope on the next slide you will see how they all are intertwined and depend on each other. But I can tell you, although you may not see it as the #1 initiative, by the way, these initiatives are not in any particular order, but our plan from the very beginning was about what will not surprise anybody here in this room of talent, talent, and talent. So without further ado, so we have here, and I know everybody's reading now, but I think what I wanted you to see is, for instance, number 5. I think that is what's on everybody's mind. I know it certainly is on everybody's mind up here. We need to retain and attract talent, and many communities make the mistake to have a marketing campaign and say, come to Green Bay, we're the best place to live. Well, you're probably going to compete with 3,000 other communities that are saying the same thing. that are offering the same quality of life, the same amenities, might be even the same size as Green Bay. So that will not happen. What I want you to see here is that it takes the sum of many initiatives to make a successful strategy. So for instance, number 6, we will not be able to accomplish without doing number 5 first, and vice versa. We all know that younger people, millennials, like to work downtown. They like to live in walkable communities. We know that we need the talent to support our existing manufacturing. So all of these are intertwined and strategically aligned.
The one thing I would add is these are kind of grouped nicely for implementation as well. The first 3, 1 through 3, that's really your traditional bread and butter economic development that you have to do. You have to take care of your existing companies and try to recruit new investment. Numbers 4, 5, and 6 are really where economic development is headed. And Peter mentioned talent. The role of higher education and urban amenities in attracting and retaining talent. Over the last several years, communities have started to realize that you have to do those as well if you want to be successful in the traditional metrics. And then really 7, 8, 9, all the way down to the end. Those are a mix of traditional and creative approaches as well. So we'll talk a lot more about some of these.
And I apologize if I repeat myself here, but these are in no particular order. So number 11 is just as important as number 1 or number 5. So let's start talking about our first one, which is supporting our existing manufacturing base in the Greater Green Bay region.
So this, we knew at the beginning of this project that manufacturing was important to this region, but I have to be the first to admit that I did not fully appreciate exactly how important. And I can thank Todd Cullen from Georgia Pacific and many others for really educating us about exactly how strong and diversified this region, obviously in Brown County, but the entire northeast Wisconsin area as far as the concentration of manufacturing and a lot of the higher value, higher skilled innovation that's going on. From a data perspective as well, you've got twice the amount of jobs in manufacturing than the national economy here locally. And when you look at the broader New North region, it's almost 3 times the national concentration. So supporting their needs is critical. And this, I'll just go to the very last one there where we talk about upstream and explain that a little bit. It may sound academic to some of you, but those of you that are in business know exactly what we're talking about. Decades ago, upstream meant the raw inputs. So if it's wood products for paper products industry, and downstream is the products on the shelves of the grocery store, that's still true. But what's different now is upstream also now is the higher value inputs related to research and development, related to industrial design, the software, the programming that goes into all the manufacturing. And what's changed is the raw materials, the cost of that is going down ever more. The cost of the higher value inputs is going up. So those communities that are successful in being on the leading edge of design in manufacturing, the manufacturing is not going away. It's here to stay. And we're the places that are able to retain that and continue to invest more in the design and the front end aspects of that are the ones that will succeed. So we see a big opportunity here in this region for that.
Speaking of not going away, actually 12 of our area's 30 largest employers are manufacturers. So I think that just proves the point. I don't know why this says listing employers. It didn't say that at home. It didn't say that on my work computer. But let's talk about listing employers. So of course we're talking about existing employers, but this is one of the pretty much only quote-unquote canned initiatives in this plan. And many of you that have been involved in community and economic development know that a business visitation program, we call it BEAR program, which has nothing to do with the football franchise. It's simply short for business expansion and retention. And it simply creates a link between the chamber, between the communities and the business community to seek collaboration and talks about the challenges and opportunities that our local employers have, and it helps us develop policy or infrastructure, whatever it may be. But the reason this is so important is you cannot purchase that data. This data is collected locally, and it's current and it's accurate, so you cannot purchase that anywhere. So this is extremely valuable to us as economic developers to analyze trends over the years. And this was actually one of the first programs we implemented a year ago. And the gentleman that executes it, I know he's already hiding, is Josh Bernhardt. Josh, if you would stand up one more time. I want you all to stop by Josh and give him your business card, because he really wants to talk to you, and he can really terrifically explain what this program is. It is about a partnership. It is about analyzing trends. It is about creating a solution provider network so we can react faster and more efficiently to the challenges that our businesses might have.
So I would say that taking care of your existing employers is more important than recruiting new businesses. Not by a big margin, but the reason is if your existing employers are having too difficult of a time operating, whether it's workforce challenges or something else, you're going to have an even harder time to bring in new companies. But nonetheless, you've probably seen the competition for new businesses heat up over the last several years. You probably are familiar with our governor in the state of Texas, former governor Rick Perry, that was out in California trying to aggressively recruit companies to come to Texas. And the important thing to point out about the competitive environment with recruitment of new businesses, it's only getting more competitive. So you have to be in this game, whether you want to be or not. Because a lot of your companies, you've probably already been approached by other states and aggressive economic development organizations in other parts of the Midwest and around the country. And the threshold size of companies that are being targeted for expansion and relocation is going down rather than going up. So this is something that we think has to be an important part of any economic development strategy. So it's also the defensive piece of being able to help your existing companies stay here and grow as well.
Yeah, thank you, John. This is also, in addition to that, I think a initiative we need to be very careful in how to set expectations. I've worked in communities where it takes 3 to 4 to 5 years to actually attract the first company, maybe from France, Italy, or Germany. Some communities do it in 2 years. I can tell you if that happens, it's pure luck. This is something, as John said, we're going to have to keep doing from now on. This is not a marketing initiative that you can do for 2 or 3 years and then think everybody's never going to forget you. So this is something we're going to have to do both domestically and internationally. And we will launch an initiative to actually aggressively pursue those companies, whether they are located here in the United States or overseas. And one reason for that is not just only because we have to play that game, we have to be competitive in that market, but our communities in one of our first sessions, loudly and clearly asked for that. They said, market Greater Green Bay. Everybody in Wisconsin knows us, but nobody outside the state borders knows us. So we will take that message to trade missions, to site selection consultants, to trade shows, and other trips that we're going to take in partnership with some of our private sector partners. So now that we've been through 3 of our initiatives, and as you can tell, they're all related to business development, research and development, and retaining and attracting businesses, I want to introduce our first speaker. And it is my pleasure to introduce to you the CEO of Schreiber Foods, Mike Haddad.
Thank you, Peter. Thanks, everybody. Very nice to see you today. I'm looking at this as just at least a vote of interest in the plan, but I'm looking around the room. I know many of you are familiar with what lies in this plan. So I want to just give just a little bit more context if I can. I want to pile on the words of Lori and Mark and Peter and John, what's already been said, but for me, so why am I here? Okay, so a couple of reasons. One, Schreiber, we've been here 72 years, I've been CEO 9 years. This is our home, this is important to us, okay? So in the job that I do every day, this matters. But for my wife, Leanne, and I, we've been here 17 years now. Our kids went to school here, we have 2 grandchildren here. This is our home, and it really is our home. So to be asked to be part of something that was sort of bigger than our company and bigger than ourselves, I was really interested in being part of something like that. And I will also say, personally, working alongside with Peter has been tremendous. He has been a great fire starter, a great champion, and I think all of us respond to other people that really, really believe, and he really believes, and he's convinced me that he believes. This twinkle in the eye, I have to say, you know, it didn't start with me, that's for sure, anybody here. Even though we all have opinions, but Peter has brought us together, and now he's made this vision ours. So I think I can speak for everybody to say we're glad to be here today to share our points of view, and we own it, and that's really what this is about, right? It's demonstrating the ownership. So I wanted to share a little bit about these first 3 initiatives that were spoken about, and I want to particularly talk about working with existing employers, okay? So this isn't real complicated. It feels like you're talking out of both sides of our mouth here because we are. We have to work with existing employers, and we also have to attract new business. But I think about every one of you, the institutions you're part of. It's the same with your employees. I mean, we have them. We cherish them. They've made the decision to be with us already. We want to make investment in retaining them because they're already here. But yet at the same time, we also recognize that we're going to have to refresh, and especially in business in the context of economic development, there's going to be enough disruption that's going to happen at a speed now that if we're not attracting new business and investments, we could find ourselves left behind. So you all get it conceptually. My point is this, there has to be vision and plan around both, and that's what's been designed here. And I agree with John. I think we would all say that about our employees and our customers, right? Look at what you have in your backyard. That matters a lot. And don't always be thinking about the things that you don't have. But of course, it's important. We've got to continue attracting business investments. I'm just going to tell the story that's easiest for me to tell. And it's just the great effort that was put in place by our mayor and the city of Green Bay and the community to retain Schreiber. Because you back 7 years ago, we're 65 years into our journey here. I had become CEO, and we were in 6 different buildings around town. And I said, we're missing all the mental adjacencies, the process adjacencies, the social adjacencies. This isn't going to work. We wanted to be a place where we could attract next generation of people to come into our company, and we knew we couldn't do it with our existing setup. It just wasn't going to work. So we decided we needed to do something about it, and certainly Jim knows this. I mean, we had very attractive offers from the state of Missouri and the state of Utah because we've been in Missouri since 1950. We have 1,200 employees there. We've been in Utah since 1972. We have over 1,000 employees. When we said we're going to consider moving our home office, they came. They came and they did exactly what you're speaking about, and they said, geez, we love to have you. What I can tell you is in that moment, it was important to see the commitment that came from the mayor, the city council, the RDA, and even the surrounding communities. I can tell you this, because I don't want anybody to think, our heart was always here, but at the same time, we had to make a decision that was best for our company. And we are a global company, $5 billion a year in revenues, $1.5 billion outside the United States. Actually, and although Wisconsin is important to us, we have states with more employees than we have here in Wisconsin. So to stay here was really our choice. We didn't have to, is my point. We didn't have to. And the effort that was put forth to retain us made a huge difference. I mean, it just made an absolutely huge difference. So I share that with you, boring. I'm not going to spare you all the details of how it actually happened. But let's just put it this way. The mayor and I met a lot, met with every member of the city council, met with the RDA, met with other like-minded colleagues in the community to ultimately to get that confirmation that, hey, we like Schreiber to stay here. And then maybe one little plug before I turn the mic over to Todd is we're looking at what's happening in the county now and some of the things that we're all hearing about and some of the big rocks in the jar, the big challenges we have to overcome. We knew we all had a problem with the mall downtown. And by the way, us going there was not just, hey, we're gonna solve the community problem. That wasn't actually why we went there ultimately. We got there because I know in working with the mayor in the city, they said, hey, we want to retain you and we have this problem with this mall. Okay, so let's sit down and figure this out. And we showed all of our cards and we did it with trust. And we actually ended up in a very good situation that I know has been great for Schreiber and we are very grateful for it. And I think the city and the community would say it's been great as well to get something on that site. So I appreciate the chance to share this with you. It's been a pleasure to be part of this. I've gained so much knowledge and I have a personal high level of ownership to see this happen. So thanks for your attention. Thanks for being here today. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mike, for being a true ambassador and champion of our, not just the process, but the area in general. I know we've had many, many conversations. As a matter of fact, I want to say that Mike was really bitten by the economic development bug. So be careful if you send many emails about economic development, because he likes to email and call Saturdays and Sundays. So, no, I truly appreciate it, Mark. Thank you so much. It's now my pleasure to introduce our immediate past chair and really the person that started this together with Lori and myself, Todd Cullen, and he will speak about the importance of this plan to manufacturing as well as the importance of education and talent as it relates to manufacturing. So Todd.
Thank you, Peter, and thank you, John, and without being redundant, these two gentlemen have been a big part of pulling this whole thing together, as well as a lot of other folks in this room today and the folks at the table. What a great story, Mike, related to economic development. So I want to spend a little bit of time reflecting on these initiatives and at the same time speak about workforce. So as I looked at the initiatives around existing employers and manufacturers, and Peter alluded to it, manufacturing has a very sound base here in Northeast Wisconsin. So we really need to take a look at how we can, as part of this strategic plan, really leverage it and take it forward. So as I reflect on that, there are a lot of great partnerships that exist today in our community. It's really a matter around how we leverage that and take that forward. So as we think about local, state, and regional organizations such as NEW Manufacturing Alliance, and I first will apologize, there's a few references I'm going to make today, probably won't be inclusive of everything, but these are some good examples of what we've got going on in our community. NEW Manufacturing Alliance really provides an opportunity, or Northeast Wisconsin Manufacturing Alliance really provides an opportunity for our area manufacturers to get involved and collaborate on how we can advance manufacturing in Northeast Wisconsin. And it really links closely to workforce development, which I'll speak to in a little bit here as well. But I would encourage that if folks are manufacturers in Northeast Wisconsin are not part of that, I would encourage you to join that organization. And really that becomes a huge leverage opportunity as we move forward. Also, there was a little bit of a comment made relative to the opportunity to expand strategically business and recruitment for projects around existing manufacturers that we could further diverse our manufacturing base. And when we look at that along the supply chain, all of us have suppliers, vendors, service providers to our businesses or our manufacturing firms. And there really is an opportunity as we look at it from a Georgia Pacific perspective. Fortunately, we have a lot of those suppliers and vendors and service providers in the local area, but there are a lot that are not. And especially as we advance further down the path of advanced manufacturing, there's a huge opportunity there to take a look at how those suppliers and vendors and so forth could actually be located in the greater Green Bay area. So that from my perspective, is a huge opportunity that's out there. We've seen a lot of that happen, but there's more that's out there before us. At the same time, existing manufacturers, if they're expanding new product lines, or also expanding their production capabilities, there's an opportunity to obviously take a look at making that currently here where it may be supplied out of the market, or maybe a new product coming out as well. I want to speak a little bit more about workforce and the opportunity that workforce adds. As we think about it, we have a lot of opportunity to go out there and buy equipment from a manufacturing perspective, as do our competitors have that same opportunity. In fact, sometimes we refer to it as anybody can go in and buy that equipment. Now, some of our bankers, such as Mark, would say, well, not just anybody, right, can go and buy that equipment. You might have to have some background relative to that. But we think about it from that perspective. The one thing that makes us different is the people that we have within organizations that truly leverage the capability that's out there with the products and the processes that we have. So as we think about that from a talent perspective, I want to speak to 2 points, but I don't want to take a lot away from the Chancellor and what he's going to speak to. As we think about STEM in our community and the opportunity that that provides for us to advance that, from a manufacturing perspective, when we go out and we recruit, I'll just use young professionals as an example, quite often engineers, that recruitment is not in Northeast Wisconsin, because we really don't have the sound base that we need to have. We recruit young professionals outside of the Green Bay area, okay, at schools that are 2, 4, 8 hours away from here. So we have to recruit them and get them to come to the Green Bay area. What a great opportunity for us to actually have that here, which is kind of the manufacturing center in the Midwest. So if we were able to develop, which there's work underway, to have that kind of program in Northeast Wisconsin, what a great opportunity to have our local students attend here and then stay within our community instead of creating a brain drain if they're going outside our community for that education. Because quite often we find if they leave here to go get education somewhere, to get them back becomes a large challenge for us. So what an opportunity to retain, but then also recruit. An opportunity to recruit young professionals to come here to gain higher education. At the same time, from a skilled workforce perspective, we've got a lot of opportunity to leverage our work with the K-12 schools. There are some great examples. When I had the opportunity to sit in on the round tables and heard some of the manufacturers speak about what they do, I think there's a great opportunity for us to leverage some of the best practices that are out there. As an example, we had an opportunity a couple years ago to do some partnership with the Green Bay School District. And we welcomed in some of the staff, the counselors, the educators into our facilities in Green Bay. And with that became a great knowledge share in regards to what today's manufacturing is versus how it maybe is perceived, okay? The perception of it being dark, dirty, dingy in terms of manufacturing environment, it's not that way anymore. You know, I've never been in Schreiber, but I heard Mike speak to the work that they're doing, and I can say it's very much along the same line that a lot of other manufacturers are doing, which is to create a high-tech manufacturing environment. And I don't believe that we as parents, we as employers, are doing enough to help educate our educators, our students, as well as parents around what the careers are and the opportunities are for manufacturing. So that becomes a huge opportunity for us moving forward on how we work to integrate that. So if that's through job fairs, time in classrooms, internships, apprenticeships, co-ops, many, many other opportunities that are out there that we can leverage, because there's some great best practices out there in our community. We just need to find ways to leverage that and partner with our higher education folks on that process as well. So with that, I want to conclude on behalf of the over 2,000 Georgia-Pacific employees. I can say that this plan is one that's going to move our area forward, and when we think about Greater Green Bay and the opportunities that are out there for us. I'm truly excited and have been first honored to be part of this process, and I'm excited about what it's going to deliver in the next 5 years. A lot of ownership in our community, and most importantly, the collaboration that's going on. When you take a look at the existing employers, higher education, our public higher education process as well, and the integration that's occurred here. I'm really excited about the results that this is going to deliver in the next 5 years. So thank you.
Thank you, Todd. I think you can tell that Todd is a little passionate about it, and I think has a wealth of knowledge. So thank you for your keynote, Todd. I appreciate it. And as I said before, Todd was there from the very beginning, so I know we've had terrific conversations. Thank you for sharing your experience. I'm going to let Sean talk about something that is extremely important, and before you talk about it, I remember my first meeting with the Chancellor about 2 years ago, I think, maybe a second meeting, and he asked me, how can I help you in economic development? And I said, I want an engineering school. And he laughed, and I wasn't sure if he was laughing because he thought I was stupid, or because he already had something in mind, and I will let him answer that question. But so you go ahead, Sean.
So we mentioned earlier one of our biases, which is talent and higher education, and Todd mentioned this as well about the need for an expansion of higher education. If you had to pick just one thing, one metric that would have the biggest impact on this region, it would be a massive expansion of University of Wisconsin-Green Bay. You have a number of tremendous higher education assets in this region, but we want to focus in specifically on UWGB. And we looked at the data before we actually were hired. And maybe this was part of why we were hired, because we said some controversial things by looking at the enrollment numbers, where you've grown to just under 7,000 students, I think was the latest count, but it's one of the smallest campuses in the UW system. And from a research and development budget standpoint, about $1 million in the latest fiscal year. That's compared to $1 billion in Madison. We're not saying that UWGB should become the next Madison, but UW-Milwaukee's got $60 million R&D budget, and UWGB was the only campus over the last decade that had a significant decrease in the amount of research and development investments over the last 10 years. So that cannot continue. We think that needs to be turned around and accelerated very aggressively, including major expansions of programs in downtown Green Bay. Of course, if we had our magic wand, we'd say, you can take the entire university and double its size and put all of that in downtown. I know it's not that easy, but that's something that we're very passionate about, and we've seen that be a transformative economic strategy in dozens of communities across the country, with expansion of existing universities and new universities in downtowns, whether it's ASU in Phoenix, UCF in Orlando, UW, the other UW system in Tacoma, Washington. So that's something that we think is very important and touches on a lot of the other strategies in this plan.
Thank you, Sean. This is really, in many communities, a game changer. Is the involvement of the university in economic development, and we're grateful that not only the University of Green Bay, Wisconsin Green Bay, but also St. Norbert and NWTC. I know the Chancellor will mention all of them because I'm forgetting some, but it is incredibly important that education get involved in the economic development process. Economic development has changed. It used to be very transactional. You got a call from a company, they needed land, they wanted an incentive, locally from the state, they wanted rail access, 24-foot ceiling, 2 loading docks, and 50 employees, and the deal was done. We don't do economic development that way anymore, and the reason for that is talent. Talent has become the new economic development currency. Employers no longer follow companies. Companies now follow employers. And which is the reason why we are going to align us greater with the initiatives that we already have going. And I think this area has some tremendous efforts already going in education, partners in education, just to name one. But we think we can tap into, hopefully, their alumni networks and send out job opportunities that we have here locally, and maybe bring some of those talents back. We will also host or attend job fairs in our competing markets. And those competing markets, whether we like it or not, are Minneapolis, Chicago, and even Atlanta and Detroit. The reason for that is those are the 4 communities we have direct flights with. But let's not look at it as a competition, let's look at it as an opportunity. How can we go into those markets and exhibit, let's say, the Thriver, the Georgia Pacific, we have a booth, and we're gonna poach some talent from Atlanta or Detroit. And our selling point is a direct flight. Try us out. Fly in Monday morning, fly back home on the red eye Friday night, spend time with your family. After a couple of weeks, you're gonna decide to move here anyways. The last one is really just a part that we're also collecting through our business expansion and retention program, but that is about quality versus quantity of data collection. So it is now my privilege, and maybe he will answer the question about why he laughed at me, but it is my privilege to introduce to you the Chancellor and representative of all of higher education, Chancellor Gary Miller.
Good morning. I would never laugh at Peter. I think he misunderstood that conversation. Such a funny guy. George and I are delighted to be here. George is with me back here in our community. I'm personally very excited this morning to be part of this extraordinary community-wide effort and to articulate a clear framework for economic development and prosperity for Green Bay and Brown County. It's also a great honor for me to represent the higher education sector here. My colleagues, Dr. Jeff Raffin, who's president at Northeast Wisconsin Technical College, Dr. Tom Kunkel, soon to be leaving us, president of St. Norbert's College, Dr. Matt Hunsaker, dean of the Medical College of Wisconsin, and Dr. Connie Boers, president of Bellin College. Together we represent nearly 20,000 undergraduate and pre-professional students, and our goal is to graduate every one of these students with a great education and get them a job in this community. We are all about talent development. That's what we're in the business about. So it's very exciting to talk about talent this morning. It's also important to add my thanks to Lori, Radke, and Peter, and Mark, and the Chamber Board. John Harris, good to see you again. Great working with you and our colleagues. Thank you for your leadership. This has been a fabulous process. But before I just make a brief comment on 2 of these initiatives, 4 and 5 here, I want to make a personal observation about this community that I think Georgia shares with me. We've lived in many communities, and I've never lived or worked in a place that presented more extraordinary, game-changing opportunities than we have before us today. And these opportunities are well articulated in this plan, and they're very, very exciting. Nor have I ever lived in a community with as much committed business and community leadership. These 11 initiatives, which are exciting on the face of it, are not simply a wish list. These are goals that, if met, and I believe they can be met, will fundamentally transform this region in the way the state of Wisconsin needs it to be transformed. So this report is not just a wish list, it's a group of action steps for which there is already community leadership in place. And it's very, very exciting to think not only about rolling this out this morning, but actually doing it, because those of us who participated, the 300 or so and others, can see a path to completing this, succeeding and moving forward. It's very, very exciting. Now, I want to say a few things about this report in higher education. This is an extraordinary document, actually. It has 3 important messages for higher education in this region. First, there's a strong declaration in this particular report that the future economic prosperity of this region depends on our ability to develop and recruit, retain high-skilled talent. And importantly, it goes on to say in very, very definitive language that this goal absolutely depends on our higher education sector. Now, this clear affirmation of the essential role of higher education in sustaining the Commonwealth and economic development is what the founders of UWGB thought when they fought so hard to have this university here. And you've heard Peter and John talk about the importance of this. I just want to say to this community that this is a most welcome affirmation, and these days it's not something we hear very often. So thank you very much, because we firmly believe that. We are a partner, we're a necessary partner, and we're ready to work. The second message that this report gives to higher education is the expectation that we will intensify our collaboration together among the higher education institutions in this region with a renewed focus on innovation and talent development. We have heard that message loud and clear, and in a second I'll give you a few examples of that. The third message, and this is a message to UWGB in particular, and I think it's important for us to ponder it deeply. It's one of the most extraordinary and unique messages I have ever seen a community make to its public institution in my 30 years in this industry. One of the most extraordinary messages. In very direct, very caring language, this community is saying to the University of Wisconsin-Green Bay, the community, the same community that fought to get us here 50 years ago, they're saying, you have got to change. You have got to work to change. And the report's clear. Let me just quote, Green Bay needs a large, growing university with a broader range of programs, especially in engineering, science, technology, and a greater emphasis on research, technology, commercialization. And the report goes further in even a more unique way and specifies really what their vision is. Remission the University of Wisconsin-Green Bay to be a larger, more R&D focused, broader reaching university. Its long-term trajectory should place it on track to become a significant larger institution in research and technology. Now I want you to know that we can't do this tomorrow, maybe by Friday. UWGB, throughout the higher education sector in this area, have heard this message loud and clear. And we will begin immediately, and are beginning immediately, to take action to move in that direction. UWGB and NWTC and the Green Bay area public schools have launched a turbocharge program, which will prime the talent pipeline by offering every high school student in the greater Green Bay area public schools 15 credits of college work before they graduate from high school. This is a program we can do with your support, because we need to get those kids in the pipeline earlier, and we need to get them thinking about themselves as part of this talent pipeline earlier. We're moving ahead vigorously to win approval for a Bachelor's of Mechanical Engineering at UWGB to add to our 3 engineering technology programs. And I just want to make an aside here. For 30 years, this community has wanted engineering in this region. The Board of Regents' own studies show this is the only region in the state. This region in the state has more need for engineers than any other region, and it is the only region without an in-region source for engineers. But this is an uphill battle. We will need your support. There is a startup cost to this, and we will be visiting everybody in this room to talk about it. Please open your doors. But we are prepared to move forward with the Board of Regents, and we have been given assurance that we will get an audience in front of the Board of Regents on this program if we can show this community will support the startup costs. And so we're very, very excited about that. UWGB and Brown County and the Einstein Project are working currently, along with our engineering initiative, to make sure that we can raise the funds to build the STEM Innovation Center on the Green Bay campus, beginning as soon as possible. The STEM Innovation Center is a key part to what we need to do to broaden the research and development of this institution and make it what we need it to be to make these 11 goals come true. We will need your help on that too, and I know it's a lot to ask, but right now is our window. This is the time for Green Bay to step up and do the engineering and do the STEM Innovation Center. And with our partners in the county, we're also planning to designate 63 acres around that STEM Innovation Center on campus for a future Phoenix Innovation Park, where we can expand our technology footprint and attract businesses that have some connection with the growing research and development that we expect to see at UWGB. We're working very actively with the mayor, with everybody who has an interest in this, to get programs downtown. And we're making a lot of progress on this. We just don't talk about it a lot. But we will eventually have a huge presence in downtown Green Bay. That's a goal of this strategic plan, and that's something we know we have to do. Jeff Raffin and NWTC and I and our academic chiefs have signed a partnership agreement to become much more closely aligned in our talent development. We call this Crossing the Bridge, and now we've already had several meetings of our top leadership of those two organizations, and we're actively talking together with our legislative colleagues and others about how we can do things differently together that haven't been done before in the state of Wisconsin to increase talent production in this area. And he's a great partner, and we're very, very excited about what's going on there. And then finally, in a recent memo to the faculty at UWGB, I announced that we would join with the Board of Regents in their process. And in next year, we will go through a consideration of remissioning the institution through the Board of Regents process in a way that brings it in alignment with the commercial and economic and social dynamics of this region, and moves it in a trajectory that this report and the thousands, the hundreds of people that worked on this want this community to go. This is a heavy lift, but it is something that if we can achieve will change the way we talk to the system about UWGB and give us a chance to move the university forward. The windows for all of these are narrow. They are right now. We have these opportunities before us. We're going to be out there talking to you. We're asking you for your support. We believe we can do this, and we're very excited about it. My colleagues in higher education and I enthusiastically support this new strategy. We're committed to it. We're committed to doing whatever we can to achieve these goals. And we know we have much to do. We will do it with you. We're deeply appreciative of this community and its support, and we promise to undertake the kind of self-reflection and change that is needed to spur this on and to achieve these goals. Thank you very much, and go Phoenix, and go Pack.
Thank you, Chancellor Miller, and again, I'm looking forward to, of course, standing by your side, being supportive, and I'm looking forward to your ribbon cutting this Friday, I think. All right, let's talk about the great city that we live in, or nearby. I can tell you honestly, as a most recent transplant from Northeast Ohio, and I don't mean this to be disrespectful, I see the greater Green Bay area as Green Bay. This to me is one community, and I'm not going to lie about it. It's every time my family visits from Ohio, they're posting on Facebook they're going to Green Bay, although they're spending time with me where I live in Hobart. But needless to say, that Green Bay is our brand. Not only because of the Packers, but also because of what has happened over the last 14 years in the city of Green Bay. And this was something that came up very early in our roundtables and surprised us. The unanimous and unsolicited support for more aggressive development in downtown Green Bay. And the unanimous support for what has happened there over the last 14 years. So we were very excited to hear that, because that is a big part of helping us attract talent.
So this is one, Peter, you'll have to pull me back, because I'm really passionate about downtowns and their role in economic development. And it's not just anecdotal. We've got an increasing number of case studies as well as the data to support this. The cities that have a thriving urban core. I'm so glad, Chancellor, that you talked about the plan being not a wish list, and we've been hearing the importance of talent over and over again. There's actually a corporate CEO and site location survey that's been done for the last few decades that you go back to the 1980s, it was labor costs and highway access were the top factors for expansion. Today, it's access to talent. and at any cost often. The labor costs are no longer at the top of the list. So the importance of an urban core and being able to attract talent is, we see that as central to all of this. So the recommendation, getting now very specific and tactical, we're recommending an innovation district centered on downtown Green Bay. So what does that mean? You've probably heard that term, it's kind of a buzzword. What it means is there's some very specific things. It's a specific real estate project, or an area that includes the reactivation of old space and the creation of new space. Jim with Titletown Brewing, and I think Paul Belchner, if you can stand up for just a second, I think the work that you're doing needs to be commended with the reactivation. There's Paul back there of that building. If you haven't been there, you'll probably be there soon to check out some of the coolest office space in this region. I also want to ask, everybody's heard of Snapchat, one of the big tech companies that's valued maybe 20 billion. How many of you have heard of the company WeWork? Okay, a few of you. Definitely worth checking out. They're also valued at about 20 billion, and they don't own a single asset. They're like Uber, they don't own anything. They take prime Class A office space in downtowns in major tech hubs across the country. We have 3 of them in Austin. And they're going to smaller markets now. And they take that space and they put in beer and coffee, and they attract young professionals, entrepreneurs, and creative workers. I'm only half joking.
Well, that works for old people too, by the way.
The point is this collaborative environment, which is this idea of shared co-working space that brings in different big companies. If you go to the WeWork in downtown Austin, you'll see Dell. You'll see a lot of the larger tech companies. You also see a lot of solo entrepreneurs and freelancers. And they're going into downtown areas. And if you're able to create that environment, and we're talking about a mixture of uses, so the role of housing and amenities, restaurants, and obviously we've had some incredible leadership with Mike and Schreiber and Chris Niles as well, Associated, and other companies that have invested in the downtown area. And I think also we need to call out Downtown Green Bay Inc. Jeff, if you could stand up and talk about, or I'll talk about some of the more fine-grained tactical urbanism. That's another one of these buzzwords, but it's really taking spaces, and the Wednesday Farmers Market that you have, that's a phenomenal resource. So doing more of those kinds of things that bring in people and expose them to what the opportunity can be. We did a big project in Fargo, North Dakota, where they had an alley fair. Some local creative people reactivated an alley and brought in music and food and art festival to help people rethink what can happen downtown. So we were really passionate about this, and I'll sit down now. I'm going to let Peter talk a little bit.
Well, you didn't leave me anything left to talk about. So, I think one thing I want to add to the innovation district before we move on to our next speaker is, I don't know how many of you are familiar with PI, our Partners in Education effort. Think of this as a Partners in Innovation effort. We have many different things going on, especially as it relates to innovation. We'll talk to those in Initiative 7, but they need to be better connected. But let's focus on downtown. There's no person that can better explain what's going on, why the city's important, than its mayor and number 1 cheerleader, Mayor Jim Schmidt.
Well, thank you, Peter. Yeah, when Peter called and asked me to speak at the strategic planning conference, I said, sure. He said, thanks. We hung up the phone. Then he called me back and said, oh, hey, I want you to talk about downtown. I'm like, Peter, this callback really wasn't necessary. If I'm gonna talk, it's gonna be about the downtown. Yeah, I really believe in a strong downtown. Not because I live there and work there, but because I've studied communities. I've attended many conferences and read plenty on how to build a strong, successful region. And they are all unequivocally point to a strong and vibrant downtown. When a downtown succeeds, the region succeeds. Look at Orlando, Florida. I bet you think of Disney World. Well, Buddy Dyer has invested the last 10 years in their downtown, and now Orlando is one of the fastest growing cities in our country. And what about Nashville? That community is also they're all in on its downtown. and they're experiencing incredible growth throughout that region. Our downtown is critical to our region's success. And I don't say this because I'm the mayor. It's proven time and time again that if we as a community have an active, vibrant downtown, so goes the rest of our region. Conversely, if our downtown suffers, we as a region suffer. Just look to the east. This has been borne out in many cases. If you've read the book Autopsy, it's the story of Detroit. It details the demise of that city, which began with a de-emphasis on the downtown. Detroit lost half its population, significant decline in real estate values, and near bankruptcy. It all started when the investment waned in the downtown. Our downtown is not only the city's downtown, it's Greater Green Bay's downtown. Downtown is home to the Brown County United Way. It's the county seat, our regional justice system, the Greater Green Bay Da Vinci School for Gifted and Talented, and of course home to the Greater Green Bay Chamber of Commerce. The ripple effect of downtown is tremendous. When the downtown succeeds, we all succeed. We don't build the downtown to compete with other areas in the community. We build the downtown to showcase what is great about our community. The establishment of an innovation district will create a technology environment that helps bring new businesses and innovation to the area in IT and software. Our focus on Greater Green Bay's most important natural asset, the waterfront, with trails that connect us to each other, and residential living for all walks of life, pedestrian and bike bridges spanning the river. That can all happen in the downtown. We need to continue our efforts to rezone land to allow and encourage mixed use, retail, restaurants, and residential walkable communities. We need to embrace a tactical urbanism for activating empty spaces with innovative programs like the Young Professionals pop-up restaurants and the ever-evolving Green Bay Area Arts Commission. It always is and always will be everyone's downtown. All of us, old, young, gay, straight, black, white, US born, or new to this country, all of us need to enhance and enjoy the downtown. Whether you live in Howard, Ashwaubenon, Bellevue, Alloway, we all benefit from a healthy downtown. Think of the cities you visited. Didn't you go to the downtown when you went there? Let's be honest. Didn't you judge that whole region by what you saw and experienced in the downtown? Downtown is also a great place for tax base. The third largest taxpayer in this county is in the downtown. Thank you, Mike. Think I didn't know what I was doing? You could have got more. The downtown sets the bar for energy, for image, and for information. As I said, we all win with a strong downtown. The height of philanthropy, events and services all stem from the downtown. The beauty of a successful downtown is we can all take pride as our region's area. The over 150 events, the unique views and venues, and the water attractions are all part of our region. Farmers markets that host over 5,000 people on Thursdays and Saturdays. History that's unique, including the churches, the courthouse, the rail yard, and a vibe on Broadway that is second to none. Our downtown is home to the homeless and an opportunity for entrepreneurs. It's a place for protests and a place for partnerships. I know I'm Mr. Downtown, but it's because I know if our downtown thrives, we all thrive. Downtown doesn't compete. It's a destination that is good for all of us living in Greater Green Bay, working in Greater Green Bay, and people visiting Greater Green Bay. I think every project should be looked at through the downtown prism. Can it work in the downtown? Will it elevate our image? It may be more expensive, but the dividends benefit us all. Downtown is seen by all, experienced by most, and brings an identity to our overall region. You know, I sit on the board of the trustees for the U.S. Conference of Mayors, along with Mayor de Blasio from New York, Mayor Lee from San Francisco, Mayor Landrieu from New Orleans, along with 10 other mayors. I can assure you, with all that's going on in this country, energy, education, infrastructure, economics, the environment, we as mayors talk 90% about our downtowns. They know, and so do I, that the success of a strong, vibrant downtown is the best thing we as a community leader should get behind because it elevates the region, showcases our strengths, and helps all of us attract the talent we need in Greater Green Bay. So let's get behind these 11 initiatives. We can do this. As they say, if we're all in, we all win. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate your comments. We're all looking forward to a growing downtown. And if you build some more apartments, I might actually live downtown. But they only have one parking garage, and my wife told me I would needed to be the one scraping the car. And I don't want to do that. So let's talk about innovation. I mentioned it earlier. This is something that's been happening in Green Bay for a while. I think Strategies, Sean Roberts, Sean Cares, and myself, this was probably something we were most surprised by, that this is actually something that can happen in Green Bay, in Greater Green Bay. But apparently it is, and we see even more opportunities, or saw more opportunities as we went through the strategic planning process, and you can see here, the first bullet point is what I referred to earlier as the partners and innovation network, but also expanding our networking channels and figuring out what I see as an economic developer as a really wide web that is, at this point, not well connected. So we need to get together, we need to map this out, we need to make sure that we do the best at only one goal, and that's the only goal we should all have as economic developers, or as entrepreneurial supporters, or as innovators, and that is for that one entrepreneur to be successful. So if we have one entrepreneur coming to this community, we cannot afford to tell that person, call this number or visit that website. No, you go with them, or you do a warm transfer. We need to work on that. We are not the only place in the country that does innovation. We're competing with many, many places, so we need to get really good at it. It starts with customer service, it starts with connections, and it starts with communication and strategy. Actually, I think I talked about your points. Do you want to take the last two on?
Yeah, well, I just want to call attention to, we say launch a major entrepreneurship and innovation program. So this is one of the most significant new things that we're calling for in this plan. And we've seen this in other communities where you have companies, Breakthrough Fuels, Foresight Benefits, you have entrepreneurs in this area. You have innovation happening at your larger employers as well. But there's just not that kind of cohesive connection where if I'm an entrepreneur in Chicago or in DC or New York, and I'm looking for a place to relocate or expand, I don't know where to connect right now. And I mentioned earlier, I think Asheville, North Carolina, we did a plan for their economic development organization a couple of years ago, and they have probably one of the best entrepreneurship programs. It's actually part of the Economic Development Coalition. So that's kind of what we're talking about, is something that really connects everything that's going on and provides the networking is probably the most important piece of that. We heard through a lot of the roundtable discussions that there's just not that kind of connection where there's a lot of opportunity for growth of entrepreneurs and startups. So that's something that we think is really important.
Yeah, I think one example I want to bring up is we talked earlier about the T2 accelerator that Paul and Jim put together. And they actually have one client that recently graduated from our incubator, from our advanced incubator. The company is called Sharp Logics. And I think those are the synergies that we're looking for. Nobody's trying to steal anybody from anybody else. But this company, Sharp Logics, came to the advanced incubator and has really morphed into a high-tech company that was outgrowing their space, and at the end better served by the T2 accelerator. So those are some of the partnerships that we're looking forward to. So, and there's one organization, there are many organizations, but there's one organization whose name we're going to use a lot to our advantage, I hope, Mark, and that will continue to allow us to do that. But we have been thinking beyond Wisconsin borders and thinking about some of the high hitters in Silicon Valley. How can we attract these stage 1, stage 2 type of entrepreneurs? And I can make all the phone calls I want all day long. At the end of the day, if Mark Murphy makes a phone call, chances is they're going to answer it. So, but without further ado, let me introduce Mark Murphy, president of the Packers.
Thank you, Peter. And Peter, I will take your phone calls. So on behalf of the Packers organization, just want to say how excited we are about this plan. We really think it's crucial for the future success of the community. Like Mike talked a little bit about Schreiber, the Packers have obviously a great history here in the community. I don't have to tell you people how unique the Packers are with our ownership structure. So our goals are a little different than other teams across the league. Our two main goals we have, number one is to win championships, and I think every team has that. But our second goal is, primary goal is to make sure the team stays in Green Bay. Now obviously, with the movement we've seen in recent years, not every team has a goal similar to that. We really don't have a profit incentive. So for us, making sure we stay in the community is a very high priority, and I really think this effort will be crucial to that. Long term, looking at making sure that we can continue to be competitive both on and off the field, having a vibrant community here will be crucial for the success of the organization. The initiative, I'm going to talk first about the Initiative 8, encouraging greater alignment with the Packers. Peter, we are ready and willing to be aligned with, so you can check that off your list.
Done.
Seriously though, we're looking forward to collaborating with stakeholders across the community in implementing this plan. I want to talk a little bit about Titletown. I don't know, I'm sure most of you are aware at least of what we're doing there. By the way, Hinterland is open now, and I'd encourage you to go out. It's kind of the first stage of it. Titletown is something we have been working on with community leaders, had meetings going back as far as almost 8 years ago. And in our research, one of the things that really stood out was relative to other communities, not just in the Midwest, across the country, similar sized communities, we were at a distinct disadvantage in terms of the number of college graduates that we have in the area. So really one of the main goals of Titletown is to help keep more college graduates here, bring more college graduates and young professionals into the area. So as we move forward with Titletown, that's one of the things that we're really going to focus on. And the Packers are very proud of the relationship we have with the community, the support that we provide to the community. And I think as we look forward, I don't want to overstate Titletown, but I think of all the things that the Packers have done throughout our history, I really believe that Titletown could be the most impactful in terms of the community. So we're very excited about what that could mean to the area and what it will mean. Also, though, I think it will provide us with opportunities to work with other organizations and companies within the community to achieve the objectives of these plans. The other thing I would say, having been fairly actively involved in this planning process, just how impressed I've been with the leadership of Lori and obviously Peter, the work they've done, and the professionals that they brought in, the two Johns from TIP Strategies, really bring some expertise that has been impressive to see. Now I'm going to turn it over to Ed Policy, our Vice President and General Counsel. Ed has really played a key role in terms of the development of the Titletown District. We're going to talk a little bit about the plans we have regarding the Initiative 7 and innovation and entrepreneurship. Ed?
Thank you, Mark. And if you allow me just to say, just one quick comment. I mentioned earlier about the involvement of these leaders here. I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, our last meeting in February, you know, it's one thing to get lip service, and I've only worked with two NFL franchises in my life before. One were the Cleveland Browns, a really successful NFL franchise that everybody knows, and of course now the Green Bay Packers. But we had dinner, I think, one evening for 4.5 hours, and our first meeting was the next day at 7:30 for another 3 hours, and they were there. So, you know, that is the commitment that the organization has brought to this community, and continues to do that. So I just had to mention that because it's more than words, it's actions, and we appreciate it. Ed, go ahead.
Thanks, Peter. As long as you keep buying, we'll keep showing up. So sort of a meal with every meeting. But no, thanks. I know we're running a little bit behind, and I know Troy doesn't want to speak over lunch, so I'll try to be brief. But you know, Mark, I think, really explained it well. The idea of Titletown is something much greater, much larger than just leveraging the Packers brand into a successful real estate venture. Fundamentally, it's about making our community an even more attractive place to live, work, play, and visit on a year-round basis, not just during the football season. So simply put, along with everybody else up here, we really want to attract talented young people and their families to move here and to stay here. So with Titletown, that kind of starts with our brand and our real estate, and using those two things to create a very special sense of place. And we're trying to do that with some exciting commercial amenities like Hinterland and Lodge Kohler and the new Bellin Sports Health Clinic. We're also trying to do it with some exciting and fairly unique social amenities like the one-of-a-kind ice skating and sled riding experience that we'll be developing in Titletown. But to Mark's point, we also really want to leverage our new Titletown assets and our brand to kind of jumpstart Initiative 7 in the strategic plan, which is to build a robust ecosystem for innovation and entrepreneurship. So we firmly believe, along with a lot of other people in this room, that the future and the remainder of this century is going to belong to the communities that can attract bright, talented young people with opportunities to innovate and create and to grow something. So to that end, we've actually been working on this for quite some time. About 4 years ago, we began to work on a concept called Titletown Ventures. And Titletown Ventures has really been an exercise in trying to figure out the best ways to maybe use our brand, our national reach, but also our local ability to aggregate people and resources, and now also our real estate assets to try to provide entrepreneurs in this community and attract entrepreneurs to this community with the three things that we think they're really going to need in order to grow and sustain successful companies. So first, they're going to need hopefully effective and very inspiring workspace. They're also going to need access to capital and other resources. And finally, they'll need a lot of experienced and committed people to mentor them and to guide them through this process. So over the last few years, we've worked with a lot of entrepreneurship experts from around the country, and we've studied a lot of entrepreneurship models. We've also talked to many of you out there who are kind of working in similar directions, and we truly appreciate all of your time with that. Now, we haven't clearly defined what Titletown Ventures is going to be yet, or what it might be. But it might be, it could start possibly as a traditional startup incubator, maybe coupled with a new ventures fund, or it could evolve into a more focused approach, something that would borrow from some newer concepts that have been developed and proven successful in Silicon Valley in more recent years. Again, I won't spend a whole lot of time on either of these approaches. I think a lot of you are probably familiar with the first approach, the incubator approach. There are a lot of them out there. And there are some very successful ones. I know they all operate in somewhat different manners, but you know, typically what they do is they would try to attract several entrepreneurs with ideas for new products. Then you would house them in your office space or your incubator, and you take them through a kind of a business or startup boot camp. And then finally you work with them to develop their product and take that product to market. So this is an approach that, again, has been successful. It starts with several products. A vast majority of them are going to fail. That's kind of just part of the game. But you hope that a few of them will turn into successful and scalable companies. But again, this approach requires a pretty high tolerance for a high level of failure. In our organization, Mark has a culture that tries to avoid failure. So as I look at the various models, we're also looking at some other models that we can follow here. And one that's kind of on the other end of the spectrum is, again, a little more focused, and it does have a fairly high rate of success, at least in some communities. And this is a model that would start by first identifying a market need rather than identifying an entrepreneur or a product. Then we would attract and retain and recruit a team to develop a solution to that market need. Then that solution would become a product, and that product would become a company. So that first approach, the incubator approach, really starts with the entrepreneur or the product, and then it develops the market. The second approach would potentially identify the market and then develop the product. Now, both of these approaches have been very successful. Just by way of example, Airbnb, which is a company many of you may be familiar with, that was developed through the first approach. It was incubated. Siri, which is the voice on all of our iPhones, that was developed using the second approach. So really our challenge here is going to be to try to determine which of those approaches might be the most successful in this community, or maybe borrowing from both of those and a whole lot of other models out there to create a somewhat of a hybrid model that would be the most successful here. Again, I've got to reiterate that we haven't green-lighted the Titletown Ventures concept yet because we're still trying to determine exactly what it might be. But I really think that this strategic planning process is going to help to get us there. I think first, it's already identified this initiative as a critical one for our community. As you can tell, it's creating a little bit of a community-wide shared commitment to further this initiative. And finally, as you can also tell, hopefully, it's creating a framework for us to have a very collaborative discussion with a lot of other stakeholders out there and a lot of other people who are looking at similar things so that we can further this initiative. So really for that, I just want to thank the Chamber for your leadership. I really want to thank Tip Strategies for your expertise and your counsel throughout this process. You guys have been terrific to work with, and we're looking forward to continuing that relationship. And finally, I would just say we're ready and willing to roll up our sleeves and work with all of you on this very exciting and critical plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. By the way, you've really been the one buying the drinks, so I want to thank you. And in all seriousness, the Packers have hosted many of our sessions, so thank you to Aaron Popke as well. What an announcement. I'm really excited to hear that. I can't wait to help you and work with you on that. I think it's a fantastic concept. We've talked about it for quite some time now, so looking forward to continuing working with you. Thank you, Ed. All right, let's talk about inclusiveness. I think this is something many of our employers are already practicing or might be struggling with. We're not the most diverse community, but we are a diverse community. And we want to develop a strategy with some of our anchor institutions to contract with minority or women-owned businesses and really just encourage overall to do more business with minority-owned businesses. As well as raising the profile of those companies. And I want to give credit to Mike and Schreiber. I don't know if any of you attended, but Schreiber had its inaugural Diversity and Inclusion Day, I believe Friday, 2 weeks ago. It was extremely well attended. We attended, and the keynote and the workshops were fantastic. I think it was really an open mind approach where nobody assumes to know everything, but opens up to say, let's talk. We will all make mistakes in that process. We may say things we shouldn't have said in that process, but you tackle it, and I would love to see more of that in the community. So thank you for doing that, Mike. That was really a fantastic event. It is now my pleasure to talk about inclusion and diversity, and especially the positive impact it has on the workplace. And that person is our brand new United Way of Brown County CEO, and my good friend, Robin Davis.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Peter and Lori, for this opportunity to share with you some of my thoughts about this process. I was very grateful to be included in the roundtable discussions, and when I received the invitation, it was a year ago, and I was president of Freedom House Ministries. And so I looked at the list of who was going to be attending, and as we all do, we're all busy, and we want to make sure that we're spending our time wisely. But I did go to the meeting with some questions. And what I appreciated about the process is that it was open, our questions were addressed, they were not sort of, brushed aside. And one of the comments, early comments I made was, I am not just here at this roundtable as a Black woman or as the leader of an organization, but I am here as the voice of those in our community who are economically disadvantaged. So I want to know what this plan is going to do to address the families, the individuals that many of us, and I see some of my colleagues here in the room, what is this program going to do to address those that we serve? So I was very pleased, as I said, that the comments were not brushed aside, and that as the process continued, I could see that there was a real commitment. And Peter and I just met last week and talked about some things. So I want to encourage you with just a few thoughts today. If you might be wondering whether inclusion and diversity is actually something that is important for your business to address, global financial institutions, respected business journals, and multi-billion-dollar corporations concur that diversity means better business, and that diverse workplaces generate better ideas, happier customers, and more revenue. Denise Young-Smith, the Vice President of Worldwide Human Resources for Apple Incorporated, and she's been there for many years, recently stated, diversity is more than any one gender, race, or ethnicity. It's richly representative of all people, all backgrounds, and all perspectives. It is the entire human experience. This statement should serve to remind us here in the Greater Green Bay area that we are not just looking to attract and retain talented workers, but to improve economic opportunities for all of our residents, including those who are on the journey to attain self-sufficiency. Our neighbors who are homeless, employed but still struggling to make ends meet, and at risk in other areas must also be included in the discussion and considered as vital beneficiaries of the solutions outlined in this plan. And I would also add, I've heard a lot today, we've all heard a lot today about the talent pool. And I would say that in my 8 years as president of Freedom House Ministries, I have encountered more talent in that building of the families that we serve than I've seen in a long time. And quite frankly, I've had the privilege of leading a team that was comprised of both former residents and college-educated workers. And we all worked together, and our organization was better for it as a result. So we need to remember that as we go forward in implementing this plan. So I'm pleased that our comments and concerns were heard. I believe that Initiative 10, along with the other 10 initiatives proposed in the strategic plan, will succeed and will only succeed as we combine commitment with the action needed to both encourage economic growth as well as improve economic opportunities for all of our region's residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin. I want to quickly add, I remember that round table, we had really diverse group. I think it was a large group, maybe 17, 18 people, and Sean Roberts and I were leading, I think, the beginning of the discussion, and it didn't take a minute when we were told, well, hold on a second, let's stop the talking, let's start with taking action. And we just smiled, because that is exactly what we want to do. We need to get beyond the talk and actually put it in action. So thank you, Robert, for your remarks. I appreciate it.
So I want to talk briefly about the role of tourism and events, and definitely let Brad talk more about this. But first, wanted to also, as part of this initiative, we're really calling for looking at public resources, because economic development, when it's done most successfully, is really, it's a partnership with government and business, and I'm including the academic institutions as part of that. So the half-cent sales tax as part of funding catalyst projects, whether that's the Shopko Hall or other initiatives that move this region's economy forward, we see that as absolutely critical, one of the biggest recommendations in this plan. The other thing is there's a lot of communities that we work in where the relationship between the Convention and Visitors Bureau and the Economic Development Organization works really well, but there's some communities where they don't work together well. I think in this case, you could talk more about the backyard marketing. I thought that was a really creative idea. We love creative ideas on how you can align your events and conferences to go after your target industry recruitment efforts as well. So with that, I will turn it over.
I initially thought we should have at least 30 different initiatives. Glad you guys cut her down to 11. The CBB and the Chamber of Commerce does have a fantastic relationship. And looking at the plan that's being put forth today, we are very, very excited about even strengthening that further by working together in the tourism world. This afternoon, we'll be talking about the tourism numbers from 2016, and they're fantastic for Brown County. One of those I'll share with you right now. We had 5.55 million visits in 2016. And the reason that's exciting from an economic development and a workforce perspective is each one of those visitors is a potential resident, a potential employee for one of your businesses, a potential business owner that could move a business here, and of course, for our elected officials, a future taxpayer in the community. So bringing more of these people into our community is really critical. It's very competitive. Every community is building things that are going to try and attract them to their community. But we've got a lot of great things that have been happening here. In the conventions and expositions area, we expanded the KI Convention Center under Mayor Schmidt's leadership just 2-3 years ago. One of the first conventions, national conventions that booked with us when we started talking about the new building was the International Roundabouts Convention. Hey! You know, you work with what you're good at and what you have. So they were very interested. They knew about the per capita number of roundabouts that we have in this area.
You know, I've gotten calls from out this
Well, it just happens to be that this morning, that convention woke up and had breakfast in Green Bay this morning. So they are here 2.5 days later. One might say they've been going in circles for the last 3 days. But typically that's what we do when we sell in that market. First, you have to have the facilities, and we'll get to that in a minute. But you typically look for pieces of business that you might have something in common with that may want to come into the area. We also look at the amount of meeting space they need, the hotel rooms they need. If it fits, we go after it. We don't care if they collect bottle caps or they're brain surgeons. We go after that type of business. Something that's new that's come through this process in strategic planning is perhaps we should go after maybe business that we don't necessarily have a connection with, but we want to. And CBBs and chambers typically have not had those conversations in the past. Economic development folks, what business are you going after? Because really a convention is a group of people, like thought process people, often that are decision makers in that particular field. Why not pursue the conventions of those people that we want to grow business in our community? It makes tons of sense. So we're still going to go find those bottle cap collectors, but we're going to work with Advance and other economic development professionals in our community to really pursue business that we want to see grow in our area. Back to facilities, you need to have facilities to actually hold those events. Under the mayor's leadership, we expanded the convention center. Under Troy's leadership, we'll have a professional exposition hall to hold trade shows. In regard to backyard marketing, I'm guessing most everyone here heads off to a conference or a convention at some point during the year. We want you to bring it back. Bring it back to Green Bay. If you think it'll fit here, it probably will. We would love to talk to you about that. And you'll be getting something from the chamber encouraging you to do just that. Work with our sales department to bring that business back to Green Bay. If it can meet in Des Moines or St. Louis or somewhere else, it can meet here. And those folks can wake up and have breakfast at our convention centers and our meeting space. In regards to transportation, of course, that's sort of a no-brainer. If the visitor can't get here, you've got some big problems. So we are committed to continue to work with the airport and Tom Miller to grow the air travel, the air service into our community. We have to have it. Certainly our highway system is fantastic. And we're all enjoying driving on those roads. Visitors will enjoy the ease in getting into our venues and in getting back to their homes. One that you may think is sort of surprising that we're excited about is the Port Authority. You know, they bring in cement and fertilizer. What does that have to do with tourism? Well, I'm pleased to say we're talking to the Great Lakes Cruising Association right now, and Victory Cruise Lines is looking at bringing 2 cruise ships into Green Bay in the summer of 2018. So, Mayor, we got to get to work on that. We have to make sure we can land those ships. But they're very seriously looking at it. So we're excited about working with the Port Authority and the City of Green Bay to welcome over 200 passengers each time they dock in our community. So thank you to the Chamber. We can't wait to get started.
Thank you, Brett. I've always had a very good relationship in working with CDBs. We've known each other only for 2 years, but it's going to go very smooth. I'm looking forward to it. I do want to go back one slide real quick, and I know we're really behind schedule, but I want to point out that is pretty much how every one of our meetings went. There was just so much excitement and so much stuff to discuss. We could never finish on time, and fortunately, nobody left. And I don't know if they're not leaving today because they would have to, it would be very public for them to leave, or if they're sticking with what they have done, and that is supporting the plan, so I appreciate that. I did want to point out the Port Authority and the airport real quick, and the reason is oftentimes we get asked, you know, give more support to the airport, give more support to the Port Authority. How do you do that? And individually, creating a strategy for that is extremely difficult. So what I wanted to point out, and I think Dean Hain is here, and I know Tom Miller is here, that these 11 initiatives will accomplish what's on that slide. That's why I went back. So I know we've had many, many keynote speakers. Troy, I want you to take it home. I believe you came back from Atlanta yesterday, and you look healthy, so I assume you didn't fly United. And tell us about the great news. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to your conference secretary.
So it's 9:20, I think, and I know all of us probably have a busy schedule. I just want to kind of really look at the bigger picture from the county's perspective. I know that the agenda says the Greater Green Bay Economic Development Strategy, strategic plan, excuse me. Really, this is Northeast Wisconsin's strategic plan. As you heard the mayor speak about the importance of, and you saw that the TIP strategies highlight the fact that you have to have a strong downtown Green Bay. A region needs a strong county, it needs a strong identifier. If anybody doesn't think that we are in a global competition or a state competition for talent in terms of receiving resources or investment or talent recruitment, we as a region in this part of Wisconsin are very much so in competition with the rest of the regions in the state of Wisconsin, let alone Hennepin County in Minneapolis or Cook County in Chicago. That's where we lose our people. That's where the engineers are being plucked out of the schools that are right at the borders. So when you look at these 11 strategies, it really is a strategy that ultimately is something that we have to be focused in on with a laser. And oftentimes when we put together programs or plans or strategic plans, these things sit on shelves. And no better example of the time back 25 years ago, the community talked about research and innovation. It literally had a committee that sat down and talked about how they were going to compete with the change of the federal dollars for research and innovation in this country. Unfortunately, the politics, the leadership at that time could not come together. And it unfortunately set back our university. And yet today we're speaking about the need for us to elevate our university as a key economic impact overall for this region. And so I will say this today, that when two very important people in our community got together, they were able to raise 60 business leaders' signatures. A lot of those signatures are in this room today. You were able to help us gain 60 signatures to bring that down to the governor's office, to prove to him, as a community, we are together, we are united in our efforts to change this region and fight for our ability to regain our prominence and our ability to be an economic engine for this region. And then we are very proud that the governor made the announcement to invest $5 million for the STEM Innovation Center for this region. And that would not have happened if this community hasn't gotten together. And so, from my perspective, and why I think the strategic plan is so important for this region, is for the fact that we are coming together as a unified voice and working together. So when you think about the analogy, you have one stick, it easily breaks. You put a bunch of sticks together, it's hard. Hard as a rock, and we need to be that because we are faced with some daunting challenges in terms of how we're going to move forward. And so there's 11 in action, they have 11 initiatives up there. There's an action register, it talks about accountability, it talks about action, it talks about the fact that we have to do something in order to make change. And so I'm standing here today as a county executive who ran 6 years ago for his first term. One of the number one issues was the sales tax, that I was going to be the sales tax proponent. We'll talk about the sales tax in a second. The fact is that for us to move forward, government, private sector have to be together, collaboratively working together. I can say that when I look at the 11 initiatives, Brown County is actively engaged, quietly underneath, working on making sure that we are doing whatever we can to be one of those partners and making sure that we're able to provide for the overall health and success of this community. Because when you look at overall life cycles, and you heard Mike speak about the idea that you have to refresh yourself as a company to be competitive in the future, and as technology is changing, we ultimately have to do that here as a community. We have to have a life cycle where we're regenerating the next entrepreneur to make sure that we have the investment continue to happen here. So as Brown County looks at those different strategies, we realize that we have within our hands the abilities to make the appropriate investments to ultimately make us a much better, successful community as long as we can come together. So when we talk about some of the things that are right in front of us, whether it's the expo hall, the airport, the port, all these things are important, but none of them are successful unless we as a community are standing to help one another to make sure that that actually comes to fruition. So from the county's perspective, our investment in partnership with UWGB would not happen unless we had the community behind us. It's an idea, it's a vision, it's a hope that we can change the whole, I heard brain drain earlier. I don't say brain drain, I talk about brain gain. It's the flow of people moving back to this area. And so I'm proud to be able to work with the chancellor in terms of how we can, from our institutions, collaboratively work together. And then you heard Todd talk about the importance of how businesses need to mentor and collaborate. This doesn't work unless the businesses come together and work with us. Because in the end, we're government, for all intents and purposes. We're here mainly because the community said they want us here. You made the investment through your taxes. And so from our standpoint, we're trying to find the best avenue to make those things happen. And so when you look at 11 initiatives, you heard earlier talk about the investment by Paul and Jim and his team with T2. Brown County is proud to have been looking at how we could bring in high-speed internet into certain areas to make sure that we have these, as we like to call them, the high-tech innovation zones. Because we realize that in order for us to have a high-tech community, we have to have access to high affordable bandwidth. We talk about 10 Gs, not megabytes. Because we realize in order to do business in the future, you have to have that speed behind it. Moving on, when we look at our airport, we know that in the end, for us to have successful conventions in this community, we need to be able to have the ability to access our county in terms of business. And it's not just Brown County, it's the region. That we have to have a team. We have to be committed to fly out of our airport. Our biggest competition is leakage. It's leakage to Milwaukee. And so, yes, I was planning to be on a plane yesterday at 5:40 on Delta to Atlanta, to their headquarters, to meet with their Delta executives to talk about our airport. Luckily, Tom went the day before. My flight was canceled. The irony of all that, as I told the ticket agent lady, I'm like, oh, by the way, I'm going to your headquarters to speak to your executives, but unfortunately, he couldn't get me on a plane. But isn't that the irony? I mean, isn't that what we're really talking about? And the reality is this, is the airline industry has figured out how to actually make money. And it's at the expense of small regional airports like ours. And so, what we went down there to is to build a case as to why our airport is a good investment for their airline, and why we have a strong partnership with our businesses, and why we feel that being the third largest city, the fourth largest county, that the airline industries need to be looking at us not just as a profit center, of which they do, that why they need to be making an investment. So our goal has been very pointed in terms of increasing our capacity, increasing our ability to have new direct hubs, and more importantly, more inbound flights in order for us to be successful. And when we talk about that collaboration between the CVB and the Advance and the Chamber, I'm proud to say that we've sent Lori, Peter, Brad, and a handful of others on ambassador missions to Chicago or Dallas to meet with the airlines to talk about how great this community is and the investment that we're making. Lastly, as you guys probably have seen in the news, maybe not, there's been an announcement at my State of the County about the importance for us to make investments in this community. I proposed a 6-year or 72-month more sales tax to help make that investment. Ultimately, the goal behind this was to leverage that investment with the redoing or the reinvestment in our expo hall, of which I think that I saw someone make a proposal to make it into a parking lot. I think that is absolutely nuts. I think that is probably the most important corner in all of Northeast Wisconsin and that we should be doing everything we can to make sure that investment takes place. That only comes from me, though. And ultimately, you need 14 people. 14 people to stand up and say that they agree that the investment in this community, whether it's investment in $20 million in our libraries, $60 million into our infrastructure and our roads, $1 million to our museum, all these things that make the quality of life in our community important, that's what that sales tax really truly represents. It doesn't represent sales tax to an expo hall. It represents an investment in our community, along with debt reduction of $70 million, $6 million of tax relief, ultimately making sure that we're continuously being competitive in terms of overall attracting businesses to our community. But when we talk about coming together as a community, I want to really emphasize the fact that there are 14 people that need to stand up and feel like they are supported by this group. There's 14 people, and 3 of them are actually in this audience. I see Jamie Blum, County Board Supervisor from the Howard area, Joan Borowski from the Village of Alloway, Paul Ballard, Village of Alloway and Bellevue. There are 3 of the 14 that I'm hoping that will stand with me next Wednesday to take that very important vote, of which we've all heard as being the difficult conversation about how do you support a sales tax. And my goal is that they can see the light and the vision behind this, that this is a truly investment in all those 11 initiatives. In the end, this is a very important decision, and I would hope, and this is what I'm going to end with, a lot of the things that we look from the county's perspective is collaboration. If we're not standing as a community unified, supporting the downtown efforts, supporting the university, supporting the county, we're going to be left in the dust, and the competition will pass us. And I would hope that you would stand together with those 14 board supervisors, get involved, give them a call, give them the encouragement that the decision that they're making, which may end up losing their seat, is the right choice for this community. And with that, have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you, Troy, and thank you for your leadership. Bold initiatives require bold leadership, so we're all, I think, pulling for it and looking forward to next Wednesday. It's critical, so thank you for sharing. We only have a few more slides, and it's not going to take long. It's going to take about 5 minutes. We're going to zoom through that, but we did want to talk to you about implementation, accountability, what we've done so far. Do you want to take this real quick, John?
Yeah, I want to give some huge props to my friend Peter. He did something that I had not seen in any other strategic planning effort. We had our last meeting with the Strategic Planning Executive Committee to really just go over the details of the plan that we already put together, including all the action items. And he came in with sign-up sheets for each of the 11 initiatives, and he told all the committee members, I'm going to hold you hostage, and you're not going to leave this room until you sign up for at least one of these initiatives. I'm only exaggerating a little bit. That was a very creative approach, and I think...
And they're all sitting here.
Yeah. But in terms of implementation, I think the immediate and short-term actions, you're already moving well on your way toward getting things, the budget lined up and the commitments and the resources and the new staff that would be required, whether it's an entrepreneurship program or international business recruitment. So I think you're really well on your way for a lot of those.
Thank you, John. This document will not be online yet, but I wanted to show you an example of what accountability looks like. This is a printout of, one slide of our implementation matrix. And you will see for every action step, for every initiative, you will see the milestones and the timeline to track accountability. This will eventually go online. We need to clean up some things, but it will be online. We want to be transparent in our process about progress. Sean is going to talk about target industries for a second, as we were talking about business recruitment earlier.
So very briefly, you hear this term target industries, which begs the question, what does it mean to target an industry? Well, it really means 3 things. You're talking about marketing initiatives that are focused on specific industries. It also means the policies and incentive programs to support growth in those companies. And then also the talent and workforce initiatives that support companies within those sectors. And I'm just going to pick one of the 6 targets because it really stood out. The level of corporate headquarters that you have in this region is pretty unusual for a community of your size. You have 2.5 times the concentration of jobs in corporate headquarters versus the national economy. So within that sector, you obviously want to keep and retain, I think 18 of your 30 largest employers are actually based here in Brown County, which is phenomenal. You want to help them stay here and grow here, but you also want to do the things that benefit not just them, but can bring in new activity. So this idea of a corporate supply chain, as we're calling it. We talked about manufacturing supply chain. The corporate headquarters supply chain is things like legal and accounting and marketing firms, data and software. There you actually have a lower concentration than the national economy and professional services jobs. So we see that as a significant growth opportunity.
Thank you, John. This is really our last topic, and that is measuring success. And I think that is new to Brown County. I think that's new to the Greater Green Bay region. We will, from now on, measure economic impact. We're not going to be measured by initiatives or by what we print or by events. And that is not to say anything derogatory about that, but we talked about this for a long, long time with the members of our Strategic Planning Executive Committee, and I think as an economic developer, I know I report to a board, and I actually report to 2 boards, but in all honesty, what's important to me is that the people of Brown County are happy with what we do. That's why I was hired, is to ensure that Brown County is growing and has a good time. These are the performance metrics that will help us get there. If not, they will help us identify why we didn't get there. So I wanted you to see that because we will create a baseline and every year report out on where we are in that process. So, as of right now, actually within the next 15 minutes, this plan will be online. We'll go to our website and download a copy. There's 2 things, as I mentioned, that will not be online today. One, we will not put online, period, and those are the target industries. For the simple reason, we don't want to get those to our competitors. But the implementation matrix will probably go online sometime next week. The plan, the economic assessment and SWOT analysis will be available in about 15 minutes. So all I'm asking from you today, download it, read it, and share it on Facebook, share it with your business partners, business acquaintances, with your friends. This is going to be a marathon and not a sprint. This plan will take 5 years to implement, and it's going to take all of us, including the leaders here, to get that accomplished. So thank you, everybody, and thank you for letting us go over time. I really appreciate you being here.